Hi, this is TJ Noto with Gearhead Exchange. Welcome to another episode of the Quest for Pebble. With the body down at Shin's shop being repaired, it's time to turn our focus to some of the other areas of the car that need restoration. The wheels, running gear, engine, transmission, interior and exterior trim all need to be mechanically and cosmetically restored if we're going to make it to Pebble Beach. So let's look at some of the other things that we're currently doing while we're waiting for the body to come back ready for paint. While the body of our Alfa Romeo is being repaired, we can turn our sights towards the engine and the drivetrain and some of the other components. This obviously is the engine for the car. As you'll notice, it's a 4-cylinder, which Alfa Romeo is well known for. What makes this engine unique is that the head is of a different design than subsequent Alfa Romeos, and that the engine block itself is cast iron. Alfa Romeo built all aluminum engines starting in the mid-50s for their Giulietta Spiders, Giulietta Coupes, and the subsequent Giulia line in the 60s, and even the 70s Spiders were also all aluminum block. As I mentioned, this engine has a cast iron block, and while it may look kind of rough cosmetically, mechanically it's actually superb. This engine was restored sometime in the early 70s, and everything inside the engine is brand new. This engine has never even been run. When we got the car, it was a virtual barn find, and the engine was out of the car but sitting right next to it in a climate-controlled and heated environment. So there's no rust in the bores, everything's fine, it just needs some cosmetic restoration. Cosmetic restoration will consist of removing all of the fasteners and having them blasted and replated, and then cleaning and painting the cylinder head, the cam covers, the block. The exhaust manifolds actually were never painted from the factory, but these do have some corrosion on them, so we will bead blast them back to a bare metal state and let them oxidize and age naturally. So once all of that's completed, the engine will be ready to reinstall in the body once we get the body back and the body has been painted. In the same way that we need to cosmetically restore the engine of our Alfa, we also need to cosmetically as well as mechanically restore the suspension and the driveline. Now this is the front brake drum and suspension component to our Alfa Romeo, and as you can see, this is an aluminum drum which has grooves in it for cooling. These are called Alfin drums, and were in 1957 considered state-of-the-art in terms of braking performance. This soft aluminum brake drum is used because aluminum disperses heat very well. Of course, it's also very soft, so the interior of this drum has an iron sleeve pressed into it for the brake shoes to operate on. The lower A-arm, shock absorber, and upper A-arm, all of these components need to be removed and bead blasted and painted and then reassembled with new components so that our car is like new when we get it back on the road. Alfa Romeo was justifiably proud of their casting ability in the 40s and the 50s, and this intake plenum is certainly a great example of how beautiful their work was. This is all aluminum, and as you can see, it's a pretty complex part. And again, this part was made in 1956 or 57, so this will eventually get painted in crinkle black, which was the original finish for the car, and it really is a massive and imposing piece of component underneath the engine bay on our Alfa. Automotive restoration is as much about project management as it is anything else. As you can see, we have a whiteboard here, and this is common, a lot of restoration shops do this. And we have a list of all of the different things that need to be addressed on the car. As each task is completed, we can check it off or erase it completely and move on to the next one. One of the areas of vehicle restoration that can prove especially challenging is chrome plating. This is the interior rear view mirror for our Alfa Romeo. We've disassembled it so that we can take it to our local plating shop and have this corroded and pitted chrome replaced with shiny new chrome. If you are restoring an old car, it's important that you take all of your chrome plating items and have them done at the same time. That way they will all match, and when you put your car back together, it'll look just like new. Well, that's all the time we have for today. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week as the quest for Pebble continues here in the Gearhead Exchange garage.